Hare Krishna, Jait Sai. Okay, so let us. So we are in the chapter 14, Guna, Traya, Vibhaga, Yoga, 3 modes of material nature. So here Krishna is going to give us different model. It's very simple to understand. So let us pay our obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nanaka Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manoabhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakana Vittamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatesha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So let us do a short recap of what we did yesterday. It was started with Arjuna's 6 questions on Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnana, what is Nyayam, and Prakriti, Purusha. So, and their union. So, Krishna now explains, gave a description of saying that Kshetra is nothing but our body, the material body, and Kshetrajna is the knower of the body. So, knower is who? The Jiva. That is one, the soul is the one who knows the body, as well as the super soul. That is the Paramatma who resides in our body, also knows about the body. But the difference is Jiva knows only a little bit, only limited extent, and he knows only about his body, right? Whereas Paramatma, he resides in all the living entities, so he knows all the things and he knows everything. And the Jnana is the knowledge of this, knowing the relation between the body and the thing. Then the process of acquiring knowledge, he explains, he says, and then he says only by Ananya Bhakti you can understand this relationship, and the object of knowledge is nothing but our super soul. Okay. And then Prakriti is the material world, and Purusha is actually the enjoyer. But who is the enjoyer? Yeah, it says with the living entities, because he wants to enjoy, so he has come to the material world. So the living entities in material world wants to enjoy this sense gratification, and that's why he is doing that, because of his karanam is guna sangha. So he gets influenced by the modes of nature, and so he gets the. But in factually, the Purusha is the super soul. So that unless he gets that knowledge, he will never be able to come out of the liberation. So that desire to enjoy is the free will which he had and he had misused, and he wanted to enjoy. So this, because of this desire to enjoy, he gets entangled in this modes of nature. Now in this chapter, Krishna is going to explain more about this modes of action. So he goes very systematically. He is explaining certain things which he needs to more elaboration. He does it with it. So now in this, today we are going to focus on this modes of nature. Okay. The blessed Lord said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained to supreme perfection. So He says he's giving us the supreme wisdom, knowing which you can attain perfection. Even Prabhupada in the purport also, he says, explanation, he says, one who understands this chapter 14 can get easily liberated. So then these are 9 Ogendras. When King Nimi was doing the yagna, that time they come and they explain these signs of modes of nature to all the people who are there here. Okay, so and that's how they say they obtain supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendent nature, which is like my own nature. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation, nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. We saw, no, in the last chapter, he said that the living entities are eternal. So, because they wanted to be in the material world, the Lord would have sent them to the material. But the material world gets created, then maintained, then annihilated. It has got a time span, and the Lord at His will it gets created. So when it is not being created, it will be in the womb of Mahavishnu, and then at the time of creation, the whole cosmic universe comes, and along with that, the living entities also come. Okay, but if they have got liberated and they are in the spiritual world, nothing will be, they won't be disturbed. So whether the material world is created or dissolved, it doesn't make any difference, because he will be in the transcendental nature and he'll be in the spiritual world. So this is a spiritual sky. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavanti va tashram brahmam hat yonir aham bija pradakta. So here you have to see, Krishna clearly says that it should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that are the seed-giving father. So unless he wills, we won't be able to come into this material world, right? So he is the seed-giving father. He is the one. But we might think the Brahma is given the task of creating. Actually, he is a secondary creator. The primary creator is the Lord. So through Brahma, is the whole creation is coming, all right. But the seed-giving is the primary creator. So he is the seed-giving father. So, and now he talks about the nature. And the nature it has created. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadhananti mahabhavu dehinam avyayam. So material nature consists of 3 modes. Sattva guna, rajas guna, tamas guna. That is mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So when the living entity comes in contact with the nature, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Why he gets conditioned? Actually, the living entity is Satchitananda, right? It has, once he comes to the material world, he forgets the Lord. So he forgets that he is spiritual, okay? And he is getting, he gets conditioned with, he thinks he is the material body. So that is his identity. That's what he thinks. And so because he is connecting himself with that material body, he will also come under the influence of the material nature. So that's why he gets conditioned by these modes. And what are these modes? We'll see how they are characteristics and the nature, how Krishna is making the differences between these 3 modes of nature. So we are going to see more about the qualities and the symptoms and what is the result of being under these influences. We can see that. Tatta sattvam nirmalatha prakashakam annamaya sukha sangena badnati gnana sangena chanaga. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. So let me share the sound. Okay. You could hear the thing, the video, Hare Krishna.
No, Mataji.
Was not audible, is it? I think I made it. Wait. I think the share sound was there, and okay. Let me.
Come, let us go for a stroll in the countryside.
Can you hear now?
Look.
Yes,
Can
Mataji.
you hear? Okay, right. Right.
I brought us a healthy picnic lunch. The air is clean here, so peaceful. Here we can get away from the agitating elements of the city.
So in the mode of goodness, there will be, they have the knowledge that, it is true. There's no point in, they get the knowledge about how to get free from the sinful reaction. And so by that, they'll be very peaceful and calm. And because of that, they'll be quite happy. And they get conditioned by concept of happiness. They will think that is the life. So they get stuck to that, what you call, they'll be in a very cushioned zone, like, they'll be happy in that zone and they don't want to come out of it. So that's one problem of being in Sattva Guna, but they get conditioned by the concept of happiness. Okay. What happens to Rajaguna? Rajo Ragat Mata Vidhi, Krishna Sangha Samudabham, Tan Nibbadanti Kaunteya, Karma Sangena Dehina. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, person of Kunti, and because of this, one is bound to material fruitive actives. What they think is the people, this mostly, the world is like this, most of us are being like this. That is, we think that we work with the result oriented, that we have to achieve this. Only if I achieve that, I'll be happy. So with that, we'll be working very hard, to achieve. I must get 10% in the exams. I must get this thing. So that with that in the goal, with that in the result, which you are in your mind, you will be putting in a lot of effort and working. So that becomes like, one desire will lead to another desire, and that longing keeps going on and it doesn't get diminished. So what happens? You're getting bound by the material fruitive activities. So that is known as mode of passion.
What are you doing, man? Out here working on your tan? Honey's the honey Sunday! I bet you forgot about Susie, didn't you? You're supposed to take her to Vegas this weekend. Lose your money, Vegas. You'll be rich. You'll reach the top. Just one hitch. You just can't stop. Just can't get it.
So they will always be bound to the material fruitive activities. They will be working, thinking that is the yes, Gayatri Mataji, you have a question? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, I have a question. Mataji, if running behind the desires, getting like 10% and getting a good job or career is all about a mode of passion, then we have to do something, like we have a duty to pay back our parents, and for that we need to do something, Mataji. That is also, he's also said about the duty also.
Yes, yeah, that is due, but that is not the end of your life, isn't it? That's not the life for you. Because what happens, then you will be caught in that vicious circle. Okay, I have to do this, I have to do that, and goes on like that. And there will be during the day, your whole time goes into that, rather than thinking of the Lord. You're not looking at the Lord of what He has created and why we have come here. So you don't get time for that. You're all the time thinking about your effort. So if you balance it, if you can come out of it, that's all we are requiring. So we are doing this for what? So there is a way of a limit. There's nothing like you have to do it unlimited way. That's all he's saying. That is what is known as Rajaguna. People who are in mode of goodness, they do their work. They will work for their family. They will do their duty and everything. But they will do it in a much calmer way. The way they do it, that's the only difference. That's what we are saying. Okay?
Yes, Mataji, thank you.
That is the thing. But there are people now who will not stop at just getting 2 houses. They want 10 houses. They want this. They want that. They want this. And after getting that, that's not satisfied. They will keep on going, and they want the skyscraper, and that longing keeps going on. The greed will increase. But the greed is not what we are looking at, isn't it? So that is the thing. They say we're mode of passion.
What are you doing?
Then tamasva ajnana jamvidhi mohanam sarva dehinam pramadalashya nidrabis tan nibadanti bharata. O son of Bharata, the mode of ignorance causes the delusion of all living entities. The result of this mode is madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So this is something.
Hey, that's bad, man.
So here it's like, ignorance. They think, why bother about anything? Look, everybody is doing this way. Everyone is living like this, eating, sleeping, and they will go for some movies, and they will just enjoy or go for something. So everyone is doing in the society. Why bother about thinking beyond that? So they won't think. So they were like in ignorance. They don't want to look at the spiritual life. They're only bothered about the material life. So what happens? They will be in that kind of madness. There will be indolence. And also they will, what they will do is like, they have a project. They have to have a deadline is there and all that. But they will ignore. They will be irresponsible. They will just, okay, let me see this movie, and they'll get engrossed in the movie, and they will never complete their projects. So that like that kind of irresponsibility will be there with the people in tamas. They're just not bothered, So they'll be, so we say they are in the kind of ignorance, indolence, and they sleep, and they're not think. So this is the thing of tamas guna. And one more thing is, we may not be anyone, all of us may not be in one mode only. Sometime in the morning, you may be in the mode of goodness. Sometimes you'll be in the mode of passion. Sometimes you'll be in the mode of ignorance. So tamas guna things will be like there in each one of us. Just because I'm chanting doesn't mean that I'm all the time in the mode of goodness. No, I can also be in the mode of tamas. I am sometime in the time or some situations I'll be like that. For some situations I'll be like in the mode of passion. So it depends on about us and what situation we are and for what we are, what activities we are doing. Okay, so this is the way that it has been classified, the way Krishna has described the 3 kinds of modes, and we could be in any one of the modes, any one of the influence. Okay, so then Sattvam, then he's telling what happens if we are in that kind of modes. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati, raja karmani bharata, jnanam avrati tu tamaha, pramade sanjayati uta. The mode of goodness conditions one to happiness. Passion conditions into fruit of actions. That is, he wants to enjoy the results. Ignorance to madness. So sometimes, we might, from passion, we might move out to goodness. Like we might do some charity and we feel so happy of doing that charity, or some chanting we might have done, or we can do some pious activities and we feel good. So you could raise from passion to goodness, and sometimes you can fall down to ignorance also. So that what happens if you are in the mode of goodness, you feel happy. Conditions to happiness, satisfaction with whatever you have done. Passion is conditions into the fruits of action. So he is not satisfied with whatever he gets. He wants to have more. That hankering will increase. Because that hankering increases, that he will not be satisfied. So he is relating him to the fruits of action. Ignorance is madness. So, okay. So this is how they get conditioned. Like, we can make out from their symptoms. And then Krishna continues to say, Sometimes the mode of passion becomes prominent, defeating the mode of goodness, O son of Pranta. And sometimes the mode of goodness defeats passion, and at other times the mode of ignorance defeats goodness and passion. So in this way, there's always competition for supremacy. So this is there. That's what I said. It's a mixed. It's not that we'll be under the influence of one mode alone. We can be sometimes in this way and sometimes in that. So there will always be a mix of it. And some people, you can see such kind of people in the among yourself, isn't your friends? Some friends now will be very, very rajastic. They will like to have some action. They cannot sit quietly. They have to do some action or the other, some activity they have to involve. There are some people who like to be calm. They like to read, and they like to take that kind of activities. Whereas some, they will just don't bother. Whatever somebody is doing or anything, they won't bother. They will be, mostly they'll be in that mood. Okay. So that kind of distinction you can make out in your life with your friends and with yourself also. So this is a supremacy. Supremacy for the mind will be pulling you for different ways. Okay. So with knowledge and wisdom, you will be in the mode of goodness, and with clarity. Otherwise, intense desire and endeavor will be in the mode of passion, and inactivity and madness. You are not bothered. You just do inertia. So that kind. So these are the things which you will be all the time in none of the influences. So this is what the Lord says here. The manifestations of the goodness can be experienced when all the gates of body are illuminated by knowledge. And also this education, what we have in today, academic education, is mostly in the passion. Okay. But the spiritual knowledge is something beyond that. So there's a difference between what we are trying to cultivate, the knowledge. Okay. So there's a lot of difference. And the manifestation of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of body are illuminated by knowledge. Once we start understanding who we are, what we think, then slowly we'll be in the mode of goodness. And we have been talking how to come out of the reactions of the sins, right? How we get entangled. So by understanding that, we can slowly get that kind of knowledge which we are learning, will be slowly raising to the mode of goodness. So we'll be calm, contented, virtuous, and we know everything. It is the Lord who is there in the hand. So we understand who is the doer and who is the enjoyer, and so we know the Lord is everything, the controlling everything. So we come in that kind of knowledge once we start realizing that, we'll be in the more calm and contented and virtuous. Whereas, O chief of Bharatas, then there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great achievement, uncontrollable desire, anchoring, and intense endeavor develop. So once you get one thing, you want to get another step, and that goes on and think the desires will never end in the sense enjoyment. I mean the material world. Okay, that's what comes. So intense endeavors develops. So there's the greed and your lust and that attachment. It is the attachment to that. Even in a spiritual path, if you are doing, even there also you could attach to a certain principle and you'll be so attached to it. Then you will also be in the mode of passion. It doesn't mean that you are in spiritual path also you will be only in mode of goodness. It's not that. Like, even some religious people, they're so attached to their principles, they're very fanatic on their religion. So they are in the mode of passion. So that attachment, which we have, the great attachment, that's where you will land up in the mode of passion. Okay. Uncontrollable desire and hankering. So that will develop. So one son of Kunti, when there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, madness, illusion, inertia, and darkness are manifested. So these kind of people, they're not bothered what happens. They're just bothered if they can just eat something, and they just don't have any, they don't put any effort for anything. They'll just go along with it. And okay, the society says this, I'll just do that. Why I want to bother about anything? And they won't take up any responsibility. So they are always in the darkness. Okay. But now, once you have done all this, what happens at the time of death? So now the Lord is explained to you how when if one increases, what are the symptoms, what is the nature of the person, how it influences the actions, and then how it is, the supremacies also will be there. So you'll always be under influence in all the modes and how we think. And then now he's talking about what happens when the mode of goodness comes. Then how he attains, one dies in the mode of goodness, he says he attains to the pure higher planets. Okay. And this scene shows the Daksha had about 10,000 sons, and before taking Grihastha, they go to the sage ashrams, for brahmacharis. When Narada meets them, and he explains to them about this transcendental science of Krishna. And they think, why at all go to Grihastha form? Straight away they go to sannyas. That is the best mode. So all of them become sannyas. They never take up Grihastha. So the father is very upset because he wanted to, Brahma has asked him to progeny, to have more, increase the population. But here all his sons take up to sannyas because of hearing the words from Narada Muni. Then again another 1,000 sons he'll have. Again Narada Muni will do the same, and he'll tell them, see, your elder brothers have taken this path. I think you should follow what your elder brothers have done. So they also will take up sannyas. They won't take up Grihastha. So then that's a story, past times in the Bhagavatam. Then Daksha will actually be unhappy with Narada Muni and says and curses him for should not be in any one place. But Narada Muni is not. All he wants is to lead everybody back to the Lord. So one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets. That is the result. But one who dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. But one who dies in ignorance of the transcendental knowledge, he takes birth in animal kingdom. Okay. So they will be only in the eating, mating, sleeping, and only that, then they will take birth in the animal kingdom. So this is the results when they die. Karmana sukaschalya samviktam nirmalam palam rajastu palam dukkham ajnanam tamas palam. So what is the phala we get? By acting in the mode of goodness, one becomes purified. Okay. Work done in the mode of passion results in distress, and actions performed in the mode of ignorance result in foolishness. So ajnanam, that is the ignorance. So this is what happens when you get when you're influenced by these modes of nature. So from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, grief develops. And because whatever you hankering, the material sense gratification, there's no end. You'll always be unhappy because you're not satisfied. So you'll have more and more anchorings will be there. So and your effort won't be enough. So you'll be putting more and more effort. So the grief will be the end of it. And from the mode of ignorance, madness and illusion will be there because you're not knowing what's happening. It's the same thing which Krishna says. And so it is important to balance. We should either at least be in the mode of passion and slowly strive to go towards the mode of goodness. And one thing you can see, when Prabhupada met all the hippies, first when he met those drug addicts and all that in New York, so they were all in the mode of ignorance. They didn't know what the science, and they were all intoxication and all sorts of bad habits they had. And they were not bothered. They were actually thrown out by the society. They didn't know what to do with these people, hippies. The government himself, they couldn't reform them. So then when they started meeting with the Prabhupada and hearing his Bhagavatam, taking prasad from him, they slowly came out of it. So they were in the mode of ignorance, and slowly they could rise to the mode of goodness, and also those became staunch devotees of Krishna. Urdhavam gacchanti sattvashta madhya tishyanti rajasaha jaganya guna vrittista ado gacchanti tamasa. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go to the upward, to the higher planets, those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go to the hellish worlds. So I think this, I don't know if you all had seen our PDF I had sent. So this is our universe, which has got, I said, no, 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, then mind, intelligence, and ego. These are the coverings which we have. And here is Garbhadaksha Vishnu lying in the causal ocean. From his navel, Brahma is created, and Brahma then creates all these planets: Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, Mahaloka, Swargaloka, Bhuvaloka, and we are in the Bhurloka, earth plane. Then Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Vasatala, Patala. And below that is the hellish planets. Here all the demons stay, and here all the, see here Swargaloka is there, 330 demigods and everything stay. Then Bhuvaloka is Rakshasas and ghosts, 7 sages and all. So by mode of goodness, you will go to higher planets, and in the mode of ignorance, you will come to the lower planets. So this is what has been thing. And we have Paramatma, Shiro Dakshina Vishnu, who goes into every living entity, he'll be there. And Durga Mata, Devi is the Maya. Okay, Shiva. So when you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So if you understand that these modes, and that's why if you understand that, you have to be in the mode of goodness and you have to transcend these modes, then you can come to, you have to, then only you'll be able to go back. Actually, Krishna talks about this even in chapter 2. When you transcend these 3 modes and you think and come to the, then you will understand your goal of life, then only you can attain my, you can attain my spiritual nature. There also he mentions, and also in chapter 7 also he talks about it. And again, here he is talking it in more detail. Okay. So it is like being in a boat. Our human body, you know, is like a boat, and the Paramatma is the captain of the ship, and the winds are the spiritual knowledge. So if you are following the, taking the spiritual injunctions, then you will be able to cross this ocean of birth and death cycle. So this is what the Lord says here. When the embodied being is able to transcend these modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and diseases, and he can enjoy nectar even in this life. So here in this life itself, he can be in the transcendental plane. So that's what Prabhupada also says, that education today, that we have to educate them how to be in the mode of goodness. And that is by practicing Krishna consciousness. That way, by chanting, by thinking of him, Krishna consciousness is the solution for us to be, raise ourselves from the mode of passion to the mode of goodness. Then Arjuna inquires, "Oh my Lord, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to those modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature?" So these questions, they must have come into your minds, you know. So now you see, the Arjuna himself is asking the Lord how I can know that a person has transcended these modes, and what is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature. So the Lord said, "He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, nor longs for them when they, that means he is satisfied with whatever he gets. He is not hankering for something more. So then, or if he has got something and he has lost it, he won't lament for it. Okay. So that's what he says. He's not, he doesn't get attached to that, you know, thinks that is what I want. Doesn't think that if I don't get it, then I won't be happy, like that. So the person who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion, they are present, and all longs for them, they dissipate. Then who is situated like one unconcerned, being situated beyond these material reactions of the modes of nature, who remains firm. That is, he doesn't become happy or distressed. He'll be calm in all the beyond the dualities, remains firm, knowing that the modes alone are active, who regards alike pleasure and pain. So he will accept both the distress as well as happiness as the thing which is God given by the Lord, and looks on a cloud, a stone, a piece of gold with an equal eye. So that's the thing, and he's wise, and he holds praise and blame. And this is very difficult. When somebody praises you, you're happy, but somebody blames you, I don't think we will be calm, So that is where we have to work on to be the same, who is unchanged in honor and dishonor, who treats friend and foe alike, who has abandoned all fruitive undertakings. Such a man is said to have transcended the modes of nature. So this is very difficult, but it's by practice you can raise to that by Krishna consciousness. So this is our example, is our Narada Muni. Mamchaya vyapchena bhakti yogena sevata sa guna sammityan brahma bhuyaya kat. So only if you engage in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes. So how we can transcend? Only by devotional service. And what is a devotional service? He talked about it in Bhakti Yoga chapters. Think of the Lord, remembering him, then thinking of him, and then working for him and worshipping him, bowing down to me, whatever you do for him. So when you do with the consciousness of the Krishna thing, then you can transcend these modes of material nature, come to the level of Brahman. Okay. So Brahmano hi pratishtam antascha vishya cha sashvata cha dharmasya sukashanta cha. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is the concentration position of ultimate happiness, and which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal. So being in this world, actually Krishna also talked about it, saying it's a dukkhalaya. So this is a world of miseries, and we have to go beyond that. And that is why sometimes we might get caught in the mode of goodnesses. We have to go beyond that. We have to transcend even the mode of goodness. Otherwise, what happens now? We become conditioned to be, because of the happiness we get, the satisfaction. So we think that is the state we have to be. That is their life. So actually, that is not. We have to go back to the Lord. So we have to rise above the goodness mode to Shuddha Sattva. Okay, so but that is much better than being in the mode of passion and mode of ignorance. So this is was all on modes of nature. And I think you should also read the purports in the Prabhupada has given us. It's very nicely explained also. And he says, if you understand this chapter well, then you really get liberated. And this has to, and here people don't understand. They think most of them they fight with each other and all that we are seeing. So they need to be given them the education how to be in mode of goodness. Only then they will come out of the mode of ignorance and passion, right? Otherwise, we see a lot of wars are going on and all that, because they think they are the ones who have come here to lord our thing, and they don't understand they're going to be only, their life is very short and their things, so they don't understand. So we need to, so the education to impart to them to be in the mode of goodness. That was what the mission of life was for Prabhupada. He talks about it in this chapter. He says we should give that. In fact, he did it when he went to US, and he could pull out the people who were all disillusioned and they were really depressed, and they could bring them out from there to the mode of goodness, and beyond that they all started working for Krishna consciousness. That's how this ISKCON started coming, and they became a staunch followers of him and adopted all his practices, that ABCD principle, the sadhana. They took up the sadhana, and for a sadhaka it is very difficult. He has to strive to be in the mode of goodness, otherwise he might fall down. So he has to be aware of that. So for a sadhaka also it applies. Just because he's chanting doesn't mean that he is coming out of these influences. He slowly, the purification works, but he has to be aware of it and start on every day he has to review himself and see that he doesn't fall down to the mode of ignorance or passion. Okay, it applies to everyone. So this is a very simple chapter. So we talked about the three modes, sattva, rajas, tamas, and there's always a rise for the supremacy and what happens in the action we saw, and purification from the modes we talked earlier, because mode of goodness does purify our sins, so we need to strive to be in the mode of goodness. So it's better to be in goodness, connect everything to the Lord, engage in direct bhakti yoga. So we saw we can slowly re-engineer our lifestyle, our habits. In fact, I didn't talk about it by the mind control by spiritual methods because I wanted some chapters to be completed before I take up that. That's why I didn't take up that. So our habits, how the modes are fluctuating and how we have to transcend. And these spiritual practices will help us. A, B, C, D, E practices will help us. Okay. Hare Krishna. So if there's any other questions or things you can take up. So it's a very short chapter. Simple living, high thinking is what is recommended. Ancha kalpatra abhyascha kripa sindhu eva cha patitam nam pavnebo vaishnavo namo nama. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Chant and be happy. And I think, I don't know whether